Unblinded ecosystem. Hope everybody's doing well on this thankful Thursday, which certainly has a bit of a new meaning to me that I would hope is ever present. We are in Poland. Is that Kris Crone?
Yeah, Kris Crone.
Kris, we're on the Unblinded Huddle, brother.
What's up?
So you have a second?
I do, yes.
So I just wanted to say thank you to Kris and Rob and the entire crew. We are in Poland, and I'm not sure I pronounced the name of the city. Does anybody know how to pronounce the name of the city where we are in the group?
Lydia, how do you say the city we're in? What's it called?
Shemish, yeah. And Kris, what's on your heart, brother, as we're here right now? So,
we are, tomorrow morning, we're going to be going into Ukraine for the first time. We're going to be walking on foot. We are smuggling 2,500 pounds in country of medical supplies, body armor. We just finished buying 2 tons worth of food that we're going to be bringing to a camp tomorrow. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be visiting an orphanage that we're supporting. And so, we just finished going through the train station where the refugees were piled up for weeks. And finally, this part of the town's returning to some semblance of normal. But I'll tell you what, landing on that airfield and seeing, a mile-long row of missiles lined up, pointed at Russia, ready to fire, NATO, Americans, boots on the ground. It's surreal how real this is, that we are living through the worst humanitarian crisis since the Second World War, and I called upon my best friends to see who would show up, and Sean Calgie did.
Thank you, brother. And I couldn't be more grateful. We have Nick and Matt, and obviously Robin. Robin in 1 second. Surreal is absolutely the right word. And getting on the plane last night, Kris, I shared this in something I wrote this morning and put in the video as well. For me, is coming off of Tony Robbins' house and all of that incredible experience, and having been down in South Beach for a week, had a couple of speaking engagements down in South Florida, and to come out of that, I really had no time to think about this. And some of the people at Tony's house in the Lions, including John Majerison, who from Australia, who is one of the founding people in the Lions, an incredibly successful entrepreneur. He's like, why are you guys doing this? He's like, why don't you just send money? No. And I said, and I'm like, but it's not an unreasonable statement, right? It's not an unreasonable statement to say, which I gave honor to and presence to. And I really was thinking about it, and even getting on the plane yesterday, it was a little bit of why aren't we just doing it that way? It wasn't like the predominant thought, but it was still a question that was floating into space for me. And as we rode on the plane and, talked, and we're heading, across the Atlantic Ocean to Europe, and the incredible presence of this dynamic, what I really became fully aware of was the fact that no matter what you do, there's no way that you can cause and inspire people the same in a video or across space as opposed to what you do in person. And the people here are scared, they're hurting. I'm just try to think for a second about not knowing if a bomb is going to hit your home. A bomb is going to hit your home. Not knowing if you're going to be killed, arrested, falsely charged. There's going to be soldiers, tanks rolling through your streets. If you're going to have food to eat, if you're going to have some of the worst atrocities possibly committed against you,
and millions of displaced people that now call themselves refugees because they're seeking refuge from their communities, from their homes, from their places of work, where they've laid roots for sometimes generations.
Yeah. And so that became super present to me, the dynamic of being with people, and not only, first of all, ensuring that everything gets to the right people, like that's happening. We are ensuring that things get to the right people. We are ensuring that people feel our heart, they feel our energy, feel our presence, and whether that's in an orphanage, with babies and women and displaced, folks of all sorts, it's in a refugee camp, or even having the possibilities of seeing soldiers and people who see soldiers here. All of that is totally present to them.
I think for me, normally I stroke a jet.
Yeah.
Sometimes I cause community action and I say, let's all stroke a check. But this for me personally hit home because my father and my grandmother were refugees out of Second World War. The Russian army came into, what is now, Poland, but that was an extended eastern part of Germany, and 600,000 people were killed in a day. The city of Rostenburg was leveled to the ground. And my grandmother, fortunately, was able to hide my father under the floorboards of a barn with his sister. And she went out with her father and sister, and they were found by Russians on horseback. Her father was executed. Her sister was executed before her eyes. She was shot twice in the neck, left for dead. And she survived. And I wouldn't be here today if strangers hadn't helped these refugees along the way. And I can feel the spirit of my grandmother beating in my heart, telling me that I just get to be the conduit to help pay it forward and pay it back. Because frankly, there's just millions, and hopefully enough people come forward to make enough of a difference, like many here at this table. And then there's just been a huge outpouring of generosity. I've been so surprised with how many people are really connected to this. And my kids, they're so obsessed with my safety, and even my wife, and they've asked, why do you have to go? And frankly, it's so that I can be the example and the man that they love so much. And sometimes that means sacrificing, and sometimes that means doing hard things for the right reasons.
And I'm going to turn to Rob in 1 second. Thank you, brother. I mean, just Kris's leadership and driving of this, it just resonates at the deepest levels, and I'm super grateful, Kris. And there's a difference between hearing about something and experiencing the energy of the people involved. And there's nobody that's here for an adventure. There's nobody that's here for significance. This is contribution, connection, love, present at the highest levels of appropriateness, of thoughtfulness. Like all of that is fully present, and I'm honored and privileged to be here.
Sean, you said something really important, though, that I think is a takeaway point. If I had supported this mission but wasn't myself going, I'm positive we wouldn't have raised $1 million. I'm positive it would be a much smaller amount of money. And so I think at some point I was taught once by a friend of mine who's passed on. He was a veteran. And he chastised me. This was years ago. He said, Kris, you lead from the back, but a soldier leads from the front. And I took that to heart and realized that there were examples in my life where there were times when I needed to rise up and be an example, and I hadn't been. And I've been trying to correct that.
Thank you, brother. And, we all talk about they. We talk about they from the perspective of the forces out there on the other side. They're doing this wrong. I can't believe that they didn't do the right thing. And they is often the visible face of opposition, but they is also an excuse that we have not to do the things. Like, they'll take care of it. Like, who's the they? Like, who's going to clean up the inner city? Who are they? Who is going to cause unity in the United States? Who are they? Who is going to make sure that the people that are refugees get taken care of? Well, they will. Who's they?
We are joined here by a British soldier trained in the American Army named Harvey. And when people were left behind in Afghanistan, Harvey organized a group of veterans to go into Afghanistan and pull people out. And that is the same Harvey that has joined us. We met him this morning. He's created our safe, secure routes so that we are able to deliver these goods to all the places that we need to, where we can create maximum impact. And there was a man who could have just sat by, and he rose to the occasion. He saw a need and took it upon himself to create the necessary action to make the difference. And so at some point, you have to know when you're called to rise up and to be that person, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it.
And people said also, like, can you really make a difference with 3 million refugees? And Stephanie's got a tattoo on her arm of a starfish, and as she shares the story, You see a beach covered in starfish, and she beautifully shares this and says, well, and the child is throwing back starfish into the ocean, and somebody's like, do you really think you're going to be able to save all these starfish and make a difference? And the child turns and says, well, I made a difference to this one. So with everything that's happening, there will be a difference, and the difference will not be made to just one person. But there's a flip side of this. What if the difference is and how we come together and create unity outside of this? And Rob Gill, I love you, brother. I am proud of you for being here. And thank you for all the support that you're giving me directly, being here at my digital challenges. And what do you want to share with the Unblinded ecosystem, brother?
Yeah, for me, first of all, Kris, thank you, right? Straight up. Thank you for inviting me. The answer was yes right away. I just had to make sure the insurance company would pay, God forbid, if something happened. But once I got that in writing, I was good to go. And my wife was everybody was behind it. My wife probably blinked yesterday for the first time and was like, hey, she was like, you could see that she had a little bit of fear. And being here reminds me of right after 9/11 down on Wall Street, because I used to work down there. And it was a somber, it was just like, there was military there. It was just a somber place to be. And, Sean called me probably 3 or 4 times over the last month. And he's like, yeah, like, what are we doing? And, that kind of, there was some uncertainty, brother. There was. And I was not. I like to say that I was steadfast. And I think that may have helped you get to where we even got to yesterday. Right? I believe that in my heart. And I'll tell you, Luis is the reason why that when I first said yes, I was just going to stay in Poland. And then I talked to Luis, and then I was going to go to Lviv. And then I talked to Luis again, and we're going to go to Kyiv, right? I think that's happening. And then if I talk to him even more, I'll wind up on the Russian border if I'm not careful. But the point is, Sean has always been a staple of certainty to me all the time. And I'm not saying that people just give money, because the reason for me is I've given money over the last 3 years since I've been on this ride with you, brother, and I felt like I just had to do something more. You know what I mean? I felt like my kids were living such a privileged life. Me and Janice were, and we joke about it, but I was coaching, and I really felt like I had to go touch somebody. You know what I mean? Like really be able to have an impact. I didn't put money into it, obviously. So I think that's where my heart's been since this has first been introduced. A lot of fear. A lot of uncertainty, but I still believe that I actually, Kris, when you say it, I actually believe I was called for this. I really do. Like, I never would have thought this was happening 2 months ago. That's the truth.
Thank you, Rob Gill. Love you, brother. And let's be the they. And so what can you do today? What you can do today is to gain perspective from this. And the perspective is that if you're going to be talking to somebody who you don't know, that's a whole lot different than having a gun pointed at you or a tank rolling down the block. So when we put into perspective the things we fear in our fear of rejection and fear of failure, when we put those things into legitimate perspective, the value of this experience is, like, you have to be kidding me. There's nothing, no one you could possibly talk to that'll compare to what these refugees are facing, soldiers are facing, and people. And that's not to belittle our very normal survival brain reaction, but after our survival brain reaction and we take a breath 30 seconds later, it's like, am I kidding myself? Like, this is a blessing to have the fear of calling somebody to build and grow your business. It's a blessing to have a minor friction with a client. It's a blessing to have an ecosystem merger potential and opportunity. Kris Crone.
I'm going to use a slightly different word as well that I want to add, is that years ago I was interviewing Brian Caraway. He's a friend of mine. He's an MMA fighter. I've actually watched him fight in the octagon. And I remember asking him, Brian, what's it like stepping into the ring when you know that your opponent is like bred to want to destroy you, dismantle you, and take you apart? And he says, Kris, I have to remind myself that losing is a privilege. And that reframed everything for me, that just having a chance. Sometimes we get so caught up in winning and we don't want to be a failure, so we want to succeed. But I think we have to remind ourselves that struggling is a privilege, that trying and figuring out what doesn't work is a part of the game, and that success does taste so much sweeter when you have gone through enough of the bitter and yet stayed positive enough to pick yourself back up again. It's a privilege to compete, and it's a privilege to win, and also a privilege to lose, because there's no winning without loss.
Amen. And in a final note, I want to honor the ecosystem merging with the Tony Robbins world and Platinum Partnership and Lions, because if not for that, then Kris and I aren't sitting here, right? Because we wouldn't have known each other. So the power of this ecosystem, the power of that ecosystem, the power of other ecosystems to come together and make extraordinary human beings into a space of stepping into being the they, like let's go be the they. And I want to thank Nick, their friend, Matt, for their courage and bravery. So Nick sitting next to me, he provided the jet, caused that to happen. So Nick, thank you, brother, and for your bravery and all of it. And we're going to get to meet Nick as these days progress. If he's kind enough, this is a rock star, and Matt as well. But we're gonna honor our time integrity and kick it to Adam Gugino if AG is here and he's not feeling well and battling, his own health dynamics right now. But AG in the house, or Fernando is AG with us.
I'm here. I was just about to put, if there's ever been a definition.
Final, AG.
Final. I was typing, so I'll just say it. If there's ever been a definition of a heroic, unique identity, these three guys are showing us what it means and what it looks like. And it is inspirational back here. And could not be more grateful. Love you all. Thank you for what you're doing. The world thanks you. This is probably going to go down in history as one of the most, critical and wars, and just this is going to change everything. And I think what you guys are doing right now literally will be remembered forever. So thank you.
And Sean, can I jump in real quick?
Sure. Who's that?
It's Steph.
I'm sorry. It just didn't sound like you for a second. I thought it was you going to check Steph. And I want to thank Steph for her support. And I'm not joking, hacking and doing all the things. But go ahead, Steph.
To echo, what Adam said, and I mentioned this on the deep practice, which I think, when it comes to businesses is such an important message is, like leading up to this, you didn't want to do this. It wasn't like, oh, I want to do this. It wasn't like going to Grand Cayman. Like, oh, I can't wait to go do this. There was a, and in business, a lot of times there's those things that we don't really want to do, but they're important to do. And what is incredible that I witness about you over and over again is your self-mastery in getting yourself to do the things that maybe you don't want to do. And when you do, the impact that they make, because, on the other side of that, like we talked this morning, is like, this was the right move. Of course you're supposed to be there. Of course you're supposed to be doing this. And sometimes in business, those things that we don't want to do or don't, quote, feel like doing are the things that are the most impactful. And it is always, it's the thing that one of the 842,000 things I admire about you is your ability to get yourself to do the things that you don't, quote, want to do or, quote, feel like doing to serve a bigger outcome, to serve the bigger mission, to serve what is next. And I think that just when it comes to business, that is just such a powerful thing, and probably one of the many reasons why you've built the success that you have is because you do the things that you don't feel like or want to be doing.
Amen. And thank you, Steph. Deeply received with immense gratitude. And that is driven by knowing your why. And mine is to cause leaders to lead leaders to merge ecosystems for 1 + 1 = 1 trillion relationships to make the world a greater place. And few things I've ever done in my life feels more like that right now. And so let's go do the things. I love you all. Be the they. That's a coined phrase that we just created today as we've been talking about they. Be the they. And be the they today. And you don't have to go jump on a plane and go to Ukraine, but go do the things and build your platform. Shoot videos, call people, merge ecosystems, exchange value, put things together. What, brother? Coach basketball, do the things. We're teasing Rob like crazy last night, having some laughs about it. But for all of us, I can't tell you how grateful I am that we're here and have this chance. Just be on the stuff and do the stuff. Be on the group calls today. I'm going to do my best to touch base. I'm going to do my best to touch base in the mastery session. It's going to, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We've been going all day, all night. So I will do my best. I can't make a promise on that and see how we're feeling, because we got to keep our strength up as we do the things here. Love you all. Thank you all. Rob, Nick, Matt, Kris, brother. Love you. And hey, let's go final thought from Kris Crone. Final.
Be the day.
Be the day. Be the day. And Rob, you know, so dedicated to this mission. He's eating Sinbad kebabs right now in Poland.
I'm at Sinbad kebab eating chicken strips.
That is a true statement. And that's Rob's final. We love you, and we'll see you later. Happy Thankful Thursday. Let's go get it.